Hello everyone! Hi! It's me! Oh my god, it's me video. Like, I'm actually talking to you guys now and you see me. We're here with the new dev update that literally just released earlier today. Uh, Going over what is coming within the newest patch. I know I've kind of been dead recently. I do want to make it clear I have a lot of videos that I've already recorded that don't have facecam that I'm going to be editing and releasing soon. I'm not going to really be recording any new like proper content for quite a while. It's just going to be editing and releasing that stuff, and hopefully today I'm going to be getting back into streaming proper. But I kind of wanted to hop right into this. I haven't perfected like my setup as you guys can see, but I have a pretty good idea of how I want it. I'm still working on it, and everything is in a bit of a work in progress right now. So, stick with me here for this, guys. You guys will see some changes. But first, we're gonna go over the finishing Moe. A hint of each character shines through their Moe, whether that's the trickster's showmanship or the hag's questionable diet. The only way to see these animations currently is to use the Memento Mori offering or equip one of the few select perks, leading to them rarely being seen. Moreover, Moris have garnered a somewhat negative reputation over the years for being used out of spite against a particular survivor. This upcoming PTB will feature an early version of the new finishing Mori system. Unlike most PTBs, this feature will not be going to the live in the following update. There's still some work to be done and it's ready for it to be ready to be released, but we want to give you an opportunity to try it out and share your thoughts in advance. When other survivors are dead, dying, or hooked, or have escaped, you become the last survivor. Both you and the killer's senses are heightened, granting you a wider field of view. Rescuing a survivor will end the last standing phase, but being downed as the final survivor, on the other hand, will trigger the finishing Mori. When the last survivor is downed, the trial will draw to a climactic end, but the survivor and killer will be moved to a preset point on the map, free of any obstructions that may get in the way, and the killer's Mori animation will begin. Any survivor still in the trial will be killed by the entity and will be treated like a sacrifice. Within this new system in place, leaving survivors on the ground may seem more appealing, opening the possibility of ending the match early. But the survivors aren't going to give up without a fight. After being left on the ground for 45 seconds, survivors will now gain the ability to pick themselves up without the need of any perks. This time is affected by recovery speed effects. What? Okay, so just to talk to you guys here who may not be quite as familiar with the game, when you are put from healthy to injured, you become injured, and then you can be put into the downed state where you are on the ground and nothing can really happen to you if you don't have any perks other than someone coming to save you. You just kind of lay there. There's a perk in this game called Unbreakable, which lets you pick yourself up and recover, or like, pick yourself up once per try and recover a little bit faster. This has been basically one of the few ways of ever picking yourself up off the ground. No matter will let you do it infinitely, and Swordguard will let you do it infinitely if you're affected by a Hex perk. So these are the only perks in the game that ever have let you pick yourself off the ground other than like situational situations like adrenaline healing you or something like that, you know? So this means that base kit, you're going to be able to pick yourself up off the ground after 45 seconds. That's huge. And it does say that this time is affected by recovery speed effects. So if you bring Unbreakable, you recover faster. And you can then pick yourself up the first time with Unbreakable. Unbreakable isn't wasted anymore, or like just used up. You will be able to recover faster and pick yourself up quicker than you would have at base, which is interesting. I want to know how the system works for that, because then, especially on killers that tend to slug a bit more, you may end up seeing like survivors running stuff like Tenacity, which lets you recover faster as well. Affect these kind of things. It's very interesting. Perk updates. With both the Mori and the ability to pick yourself up now part of the base kit, handful of perks grant these abilities need adjustments. Therefore, Unbreakable, Soul Guard, No Mither, and Boon Exponential cannot let you pick yourself up now. Okay, fair enough. The ability to Mori survivors has been moved from Rancor and Devour as is now part of the base kit. In addition, some of these perks will be made change to the PvP, however, since it's an early preview, the in-game description have not been updated yet. Unbreakable will now increase your dying self-recovery speed up to 100%. Rancor Uh, just still, it shows the obsessions are off for 5 seconds now instead of what it used to do, and they're just permanently exposed. But you're no longer just instantly moyable, which I think is really cool. And I think makes Rancor a much healthier perk than it was. You'd get into these situations where people would ignore the obsession because they'd have a Mori on them in the end game, so I just go fucking down them on insta expose, Mori them immediately, never hook them once. However, this does make a bit of a sad moment, as I wanted to do the 4-man Rancor Mori challenge at some point in time, and I never got a chance to do it. It kind of sucks. Hex Devour Hope. Once 5 tokens have been earned, any survivor placed on a hook is instantly sacrificed. I know this sounds a little ridiculous. It's 5 stacks Devour before let you just instantly die and be moored when on the ground, so I guess it's fair. Actually, it's still a bit of a nerf. Memento Mori offerings. How many use ones? These offerings now award a bounty of blood points based on the number of survivors killed if you earn a finishing Mori. Gain 8,000 blood points if at least 2 survivors are killed, and the match ends in a finishing Mori. Ivory Mori will gain 12,000 if at least 3 are killed, and the match ends in a finishing Mori, and the Ebony will give you 20,000 blood points if at least 4. So it's now a bounty thing. That's very interesting. That's very, very interesting. Alright, so these are really interesting stuff that I want to talk about and have massive implications. I want to go over the base kit being able to pick yourself up off of the ground. So a lot of killers have what is referred to as snowball potential. These are killers that can snowball off of certain situations, and their power is heavily increased because of their ability to do this. Killers like Myers, Oni, have limited time within their power, so they need to use it as wise as possible if they're playing for efficiency. So they'll tend to down a survivor and slug them while they go to try and down other people. Killers like Twins are very slug reliant because you're usually going to be far away from a person. I see some problems in the upcoming future with some of these killers that are more slug reliant. They are probably going to be a bit worse in the upcoming patches when this comes into play. I see anyone who mains these killers is going to probably have a little bit of a harder time because, alright, so, for example, I want to point out, Boon, Exponential, and Boon Unbreakable now have the exact same effect, basically, except Unbreakable is personal to you. Boon, you have to set it up, but it gives it to everyone. I don't know if I like that. Just kind of go over it. Boons have always been a more powerful variant of perks that already exist in the game to some degree. They're also able to apply to everyone. The fact that Unbreakable is just more, again, it's still a very selfish perk in a sense, and it's now the same exact speed to my knowledge as Exponential. I don't know how I feel about that. But I also don't know how, like, the increase to dying recovery speed is also going to increase the speed at which you can pick yourself up. So let's take, for example, that a increase to self-recovery speed will reduce by the amount increase. So like your dying speed is recovered by 100% and your, you know, how much is that going to reduce? Because it's not going to be like an equal amount. Like, oh, wait, you can pick yourself up after immediately being down. Makes sense, yes? So I'm wondering if it's like the time that it's actually saved is the time also taken off. So for example, if you pick yourself up 100% faster, I don't remember how long it takes to pick yourself off the ground, but I think it's like 32 seconds. So let's just keep with that. It takes 32 seconds to fully recover. So since it takes 45 to be able to get up, right? So since 100% would remove 16 seconds, does that remove 16 seconds, meaning you have to be on the ground for 29 seconds before you can pick yourself up? Because if so, okay, that's not bad. I'm really curious to how that is going to fully fix themselves. I want to go over a bit, just a couple issues with how they've done this, right? So, Unbreakable is the only survivor perk that got a change, because Unbreakable's only use was pick yourself up. However, I kind of have an issue that Boon Exponential, No Mither, and Soul Gold didn't get any changes to compensate their loss. No Mither has always been a meme perk, but its strength was always in the fact that you could pick yourself up. Now, No Mither has slower recovery speed than Unbreakable, which means you're actually going to take longer to pick yourself up off the ground. And now the fact that recovery is infinite for everyone, you don't gain that benefit, you're just injured. Now, it's always been seen as the hard mode for Dead by Daylight, but you kind of had a equal trade-off if you thought about it. You lost a permanent health state for the ability to always be able to recover a health state. That's not a thing anymore. I'd like to see No Mither buffed in other ways to compensate and make it still, like, able to do what it's supposed to be able to do. It's obviously, it's a weak Mimi perk that you kind of troll around using, but now it's ironically been nerfed. And I don't know if I like that. And then Soul Guard also had, like, the whole, half of its gimmick was being able to recover and be able to use that Soul Guard effect. It doesn't actually increase your recovery speed, so you still have to wait 45 seconds. You just now have a, I get up, and now you have fucking endurance for a bit. So I'd like to see either an increase in recovery speed when running Soul Guard to make up for this, or maybe an increase to the endurance duration. So you still have to be slugged for the full time, unless you're running perks like Unbreakable to get up faster. But you would still have the benefit of Soul Guard but extended, or it should just increase your recovery speed by a bit. But if they don't want to, like, be stacking all this on too much, I can understand this. Though I think that obviously stacking recovery add-ons or recovery speed isn't going to be anywhere near as powerful as it ever could be, because there's a base you have to be on the ground this long, and that's obviously not going to be able to be reduced quite as much. And for Boon Exponential, it basically is just a radius where everyone has Unbreakable, and that's it. And I mean, if you look at Circle of Healing, it's basically a better self-care for everyone, and that's kind of always what it's been. You look at, you know, Shadow Step. It's a better or hiding perk that also hides scratch marks. Dog Theory is the only one that's like a 2% speed boost, but it is a 2% speed boost, which can be really impactful in certain areas, and 2% is a bit more impactful against slower killers. That's fine. I don't think that this Exponential is strong enough with the removal of being able to pick yourself up immediately, because now it literally is just Unbreakable on everyone. Now, obviously, it stacks with Unbreakable, so if you have Unbreakable and you're in this, you're going to get up very fast, probably. But is this really worth it? I don't know. It's really dependent, and slugging is always something that's more efficient on some killers, less on others. And I don't know. I'm not sure how I feel about this. I'll be honest. I think that's a very powerful thing that's being given to survivors, but I don't know if they're being compensated in some of the perks that let you do this enough. As for the perks for killer, so Rancor, the only thing it really gained is 5-second aura reading for the removal of an immediate Mori. That's it. I don't think Rancor is the healthiest perk in the game, and how a lot of people would use it. I just want to go out and say that on the record. However, and 5-second aura reading is only going to give you, it still gives you snowball potential. And obviously you're still incentivized to go for this person at least somewhat throughout the game, because they can still get saved in theory during endgame. The kind of thing I have here that I'm not quite sure how I like is the fact that it just, I don't know. I don't know if 5 seconds is enough to really compensate for the power I had before. I think Rancor already wasn't exactly the greatest perk. And it wasn't even the healthiest perk, but now it's not even able to do what it was, which was immediately eliminate a survivor from the trial. I'd like to maybe see the aura reading increased a bit, or maybe it's like every time a generator is done, you will see the Obsession's aura for a couple of seconds, and then when the last generator is done, you see it for even longer. Just to give it more use throughout the game other than just the screens. I don't know. It's just, yeah, I don't know. And then Hex Devour Hope. It's still enough. If you just down a survivor, you would just be able to immediately start the Mori up. Boom. And then they're gone. You have to actually pick them up and take them to hooks. Now we're going to get those situations where it actually takes longer to kill someone. So it's going to actually be easier to break the Devour because they have to down them and they have to carry to a hook and then they have to get back to the totem. I think this is fine. Honestly, I think Devour's a strong enough puck that once they've gotten usage out of Devour enough, if you already gotten to 5, you're probably already screwed. Even if you cleanse it, you've probably mostly lost the game at this point, just from the amount of pressure that the killer has probably been able to have just from this one totem. I think it's probably fine. But we'll have to see. But it is definitely a nerf. I think the bounty offerings, like the mentor members acting as bounty offerings, is very interesting. I'm wondering if those are affected by the blood points for playing killer. Like the 100% extra blood points, so you can be able to walk out of a match after doing an Ebony, killing everyone, and be like, with the finishing Mori. I mean, that's just an interesting thing, because now, alright, so here's what I want to actually really say I think is great about the idea of the finishing Mori, is that it's always gonna more or less come into play. Because, alright, so I want to read this over here, right? When the last survivor is down, right, so when all of the survivors are dead, dying, or hooked, or have escaped, you become the last standing. Which, by the way, only just grants a wider field of view, which is just weird in my opinion. When the last survivor is downed, the trial will draw to a climactic end. Both the survivor and killer will be moved to a preset point, free of any obstructions, and the killer Mori animation will begin. So, what I want to point out in my kind of issue with this, right? So they put in a system where you're able to pick yourself up off the ground at base. However, if everyone's down at once, it doesn't matter, you know? So, well, this is a good and bad thing in my opinion. I think that sometimes this could screw over certain, like, situations that could have been made a comeback. At the same time, if a killer gets everyone down really quickly, it does just end the game immediately, which is kind of nice. Though, we'll see how this all plays out. But the thing is with this, right? So, this actually incentivizes you to play a bit more interestingly if you bring a Memento Mori offering. So, the thing is, you need at least 2 survivors killed, and the match ends in a finishing Mori. So, if you think about it like this, right? If you're bringing a Mori, if you're bringing an Ebony, you are expecting to kill everyone. And that's putting a task upon yourself. Now, my worry is people are going to take these offerings a bit too seriously, be like, I need to sweat for the 4K because I bought an Ebony Mori, and if I don't, it's a wasted offering. So I'm going to sweat my ass off, bring the best stuff that I can on the strongest killer to Bloodpoint grind. We already have an issue, I'd say, with people playing the strongest thing, bringing the strongest offerings, add-ons, all this, on both sides, because people already take the game too seriously, in my opinion. This is not meant to be a serious comp game where, you know, you should feel the need to win every single fucking game. I don't know if the Mori offerings are going to affect this positively. There's something I just thought of. Because, again, I mean, that's like, you have to be confident enough you're going to be able to actually achieve your goal, and if you don't, it's a complete waste. So I think this is going to actually cause people who bring Moris to sweat more, and this may actually make seeing situations where camping and tunneling happen more often in the early game as they try and secure a kill early on to make the team lose so that they can get value out of their Ebony Mori. The other thing that I find very sad about this is one of the most fun things that always happened when you would load up with a new killer was everyone would want to get Mori'd by the killer. You want to be the one who gets to experience the killer's Mori. This was something incredibly common with streamers, both playing Survivor or Killer. If you load up onto the new PTB, you got a new killer, everyone wants to see the Mori. We all want to see it. And we all want to be like, they're watching it in person. And this is going to get rid of probably one of the more fun things about Moris, which was always the way that it was kind of done in the PTB, where everyone wanted to experience it. There was always a lot more fun-loving, yo, that brought Mori, let's go. Everyone's gonna just round up, we'll just farm on hooks, and then Mori, let's go. Like, everyone has fun with it. And seeing this getting removed is kind of sad, because it has been probably one of the more fun things you'll see the community do when a killer comes out. It's just like, let's go. So, mixed feelings. I don't know if Mori's really needed to change, but I do get that they do get used sometimes in, like, kind of boring ways, but I just don't know if this update is going to change that, really, honestly. I think the anti-slugging at base kit is really good. The main reasoning for bringing slugging perks would almost always be like a backup plan, because you wouldn't be able to do that yourself, and if you don't get slugged, it feels like you're wasting a perk slot. There's actually a reason I don't run perks like Unbreakable and stuff. It's that I don't actually get slugged that often. I also find slugging to be a very boring thing because killers will sometimes do it, but you have no way of knowing if a killer's going to do it. For example, you kind of got the same thing with DS, and I always felt like you had to force value out of it to really, like, get the value out of it, you know? Because even if you got chased by a killer, even if you were getting tunnered, you kind of would have to force value, or they could just slug you, and it was just like, bleh, you know? So, that's why I actually really like Off the Record. Even if you don't always get the value out of it, it's there to actually protect you if the killer does, and it's not something they can just avoid, much like, DS. I mean, unless they manage to hit you right off hook with BT or something, and then that's fair enough, you know? But anyways, interesting patch. I'm not sure how I feel about it, I'm gonna be honest. I think that Unbreakable isn't the only Survivor perk that needs a buff. I think the rest should be compensated. I think that Rancor needs a bit more compensation as well, as 5-second aura reading I don't think is really the biggest thing in the world. Devour Hope is a straight enough, but at least got some compensation to still keep it in the same power level. Being able to pick yourself off the ground normally is pretty chill, and more offerings might incentivize more boring gameplay because people want to get value out of the offering they bring. So it's going to become a signifier of a sweaty killer. That's my thing right here. I'd almost guarantee that a Mori offering used to be a signifier of a sweaty killer, someone who wanted to get someone out of the match super early. Because they used to be able to kill you immediately upon down, and even after a first hook. Now this Mori got reworked to second, you never see them too often, and usually they didn't actually feel like they were targeted or anything. You'd get a couple situations where sure, maybe, but for the most part, Moris were just Moris, no one really cared too much. I'd say I never really cared too much. Now I feel like Moris are back into the signification of a sweaty killer, someone who is going to try and sweat their ass off for 4K because they're bringing an Ebony Mori, and they want everyone dead no matter what. You know? Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the webcam, and know that there's more to come. See you guys. I'm sorry for rambling so much. See you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.